Once upon a time, there was a little kid who was growing up quickly. His small, pointy horns were just beginning to show, and they made him feel as if he were a big, strong billy goat who could take care of himself. Every day, he grew more confident, thinking that he didn't need anyone's help, not even his mother's. One evening, when the sun was starting to dip low in the sky and the golden light bathed the grassy meadow, the flock of goats began to head home. The kid's mother called out to him, urging him to come along. But the kid was feeling independent and bold. He was far too interested in nibbling the sweet, tender grass that he didn't pay attention to his mother's calls. "I'm fine on my own," he thought, munching away happily. Time passed quickly, and soon the meadow grew quiet. When the kid finally lifted his head, he was shocked to find that the flock had disappeared. The sun was now sinking behind the hills, and long, dark shadows began to creep across the ground. A cool, whispering wind swept through the grass, making eerie rustling sounds. The once warm and cozy meadow now felt strange and spooky. The kid shivered, realizing how alone he was. His heart began to pound in his chest as he remembered the tales his mother had told him about the terrible wolf that roamed the woods at night. Fear gripped him as he imagined the sharp teeth of the wolf and the danger lurking in the darkness. He quickly began to bleat loudly, calling out for his mother and the flock, hoping they would hear him and come back. But just as he started running across the field in a panic, his worst fear came true. There, near a cluster of trees, stood the wolf, watching him with hungry eyes. The kid froze, knowing he had very little hope of escape. He had ignored his mother's warning, and now it seemed too late. Trembling with fear, the kid decided to speak up. "Please, Mr. Wolf," he said in a small, shaky voice. "I know you are going to eat me. But before you do, could you please play me a tune? I would like to dance and enjoy myself one last time before the end." The wolf, surprised by the kid's request, thought the idea of a little music before his meal was rather amusing. "A tune before dinner, huh? Well, why not?" the wolf said with a sly grin. He pulled out a flute and began to play a merry tune. The kid, despite his fear, started to leap and dance with all the energy he had. He twirled and kicked up his hooves, trying to keep his spirits high. Meanwhile, far off in the distance, the flock was still making its way home. The sun had nearly set, and the evening was quiet. But in that stillness, the sound of the wolf's piping drifted through the air. The shepherd dogs, who were always alert, perked up their ears at the sound. They knew that tune all too well. It was the song the wolf played before a feast. Without wasting a second, the dogs bolted toward the pasture, racing across the field with their ears back and their paws pounding the ground. The wolf, still playing his tune for the dancing kid, suddenly heard the barking and howling of the approaching dogs. He stopped playing immediately, realizing his mistake. In a flash, the wolf turned and ran as fast as he could, with the shepherd dogs hot on his heels. As he dashed away, the wolf muttered to himself, "What a fool I've been! I should have stuck to my job as a butcher instead of playing music for a silly kid." And so, the kid was saved, thanks to the quick ears of the shepherd dogs and his clever request for one last dance. From that day on, he never ignored his mother's calls again, and learned that sometimes it's best to stay with the flock and listen to those who care about you.